Promised the 15-year-old some ribs with homemade barbecue sauce today. So I'm bringing you along to chat while we do this. Making the barbecue sauce, 2 cups of ketchup. So, what I wanted to talk to you about is, especially on this full moon and Mercury retrograde weekend, what happens in darkness always comes to light. And what's meant to be will always be. No matter how much we resist, no matter how much we try to deny, no matter how much we control, what's meant to be will always be. It will always find its way. So with this 2 cups of ketchup, you're going to want 2 cups of red wine vinegar. I have so many clients that come and are not ready for their next steps, where purpose is taking them. They're in relationships that need a shift, and they don't want to make the call. They're not ready to have the conversations, make the breaks, make the next step, whichever way it's going. They're not ready to quit or leave the job. They're not ready to walk away from the friendship that is not serving them. But the thing is, the universe hears your energy, your absolute thoughts. So once you've declared to the universe what you really want, even if you aren't necessarily saying it out loud and you're afraid, you have some fear and uncertainty around decisions and what your heart truly desires at its core, the universe is going to shift things to bring into fruition what it is you actually are seeking. Doesn't matter how hard we try, doesn't matter how hard we avoid, the conflict comes up. 2 cups of red wine vinegar. That conflict comes up. And eventually it becomes unavoidable. Eventually, the only answer is to go through it, right? You'll notice the shifts and things start to happen once that ending, once that shift, once that piece has finally fallen into place or moved away. You want roughly 1/4 to 1/2 cup of dark molasses. This is what's going to thicken it up for you. This is literally the end of what I have. So whatever comes out, whatever we can get out is what's coming out. Sometimes the best decisions, most of the time, the best decisions are also your hardest decisions, but the most necessary for your alignment. And like I said, you can avoid, you can kick and carry on, you can beg, barter, and plead, but ultimately, what's meant to be is always going to be. So if there's a person in your life that you're desperately holding on to, even though it may not be right, if there's a job that you're desperately holding on to, a business that you're trying to launch, a friendship you're trying to keep, whatever the situation is, it's always going to find its way. So the easiest thing to do is to sit back and just let it happen. Accept things for what they are. Accept fate as it may be. You need about 1.5 teaspoons of salt, about 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. We need about 2.5 teaspoons of onion powder and 2.5 teaspoons of garlic powder. This barbecue sauce that I make is literally the absolute crowd favorite. People tell me they could drink this out of the pan. I know people that have literally like moved it to their kitchen. In other words, they make it part of their own staple. They've taken it and run with it. So onion powder and garlic powder, you need about 2.5 teaspoons. Always made with love. This is where the magic comes in. And then you need a liquid smoke. This is what I have. I have mesquite. They also have hickory. I also have hickory. I'm just using mesquite today. I swear these labels. Make sure you're staying with things that light you up. What gives you solitude? What allows you to sit back and process? Do you like to paint? Do you like to draw? Do you like to write? In my case, you can see I love to cook. I get in the kitchen and create. This is my creation. I also love plants. I find it fascinating to watch them grow. So I have lots of house plants. Find time for you to get into those things, because it is in those things that you will be able to process. All of these things you may not be readily understanding why there's so much friction that you're trying to control. That's tablespoon. We don't want tablespoon, we want teaspoon. We need like, I think 3 teaspoons of your liquid smoke. 1, 2, 3. And then it's brown sugar, which I haven't added yet. You need probably a cup's worth of brown sugar. You can kind of taste it, eyeball it as you go. Anywhere from like 3/4 of a cup. I've doubled this recipe right now this time for the way I'm making them. So 3/4 of a cup. Let me know your thoughts. Have you ever tried to avoid something that was coming, done your best to steer and turn the ship, but ultimately you find in the end the very thing, the very consequence, the very winds up happening anyway. The very thing you're trying to avoid is the very thing that winds up coming true. So once you add that brown sugar in, you're just gonna wanna mix it all, whisk it in, and cook it. I bring mine to a boil first. Once it hits a boil, I turn it down to simmer, and I let it cook really low, probably for like, I don't know, an hour or so to allow it to get to know itself and thicken, and then of course you can cool it down. It won't be thick like store-bought barbecue sauce. It's gonna be much thinner, but I promise it'll be the best barbecue sauce you've ever tasted.